Hello everyone, it's Matt from Akuma Mods, back again today with a new Raspberry Pi handheld system. So this one is by ExperimentalPi, and this is called the PiBoy DMG. This is just a Raspberry Pi case. So obviously this looks a lot like a Game Boy style case, but I assure you that it is anything but that. And I'll go over that in a little bit just to show you how different it actually is. But just wanted to show off the packaging here. Very, very nice packaging. This model that I have here is an assembled Pi 4 4GB, and it also has the HDMI adapter for it. So this is kind of like the fully loaded, ready to rock and roll. You're good. Just to go over some things on the box here, it says the PiBoy DMG is the ultimate handheld gaming case for the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, Pi 4B, and Pi Zero. That's right. You can actually use pretty much any Raspberry Pi system with this. The only thing is you just have to make sure that you put on the correct covers for it and everything, and then just make sure that the spacing is right. It's not listed on here, but I'm pretty sure the 3A Plus will work on this as well. I have not confirmed that. I don't have an A Plus on me at the moment, but I'll end up getting one and testing that out and making sure that it works too. But I don't see why it shouldn't if a 3B Plus works. Anyway, moving on. The PiBoy DMG incorporates a safe shutdown and an optional active cooling for the Pi 3B Plus or Pi 4B. This also does have the active cooling, aka a fan, on it, and that's nice that it also has a safe shutdown, because that's something that a lot of these systems don't have, but this one does, and that's always good to have to keep your SD card from getting corrupted or anything like that. Says comes partially assembled. Obviously, this is not the partially assembled version. This is completely done. Just add a Raspberry Pi of your choice. PiBoy DMG includes a glass screen and 2 styles of shoulder buttons, which I will get to that in a second. Just to go over some key points that it has. Power and battery indicator LED, which is up on the right-hand side. A 640 by 480 IPS LCD screen. I will tell you that that screen is very, very nice. It's definitely up there with the best of the best for that style of handheld. Active cooling, like I said, so it does have a fan in the center of the rear of the case. We'll look into that in a little while. Shoulder buttons, like it shows here, there are 2 different styles. So the stock one that's right here, that is what's on there right now with 4 little points like nubs to have a feeler. And then there's the lighter SNES style. I don't really want to call it an SNES style because it looks like it, but it's far from it, where, you know, it's just a little bit pushed out. So you can just feel it just a little bit. Then you have 6 front-facing buttons, a 4,500 milliamp battery. Obviously, you can put a heavier duty battery in there, but it will require you to cut up the case, which I don't ever suggest doing. Why modify something if something works just fine? But that's up to you. And then an analog joystick. So currently, as of right now, there's only 2 other handhelds that are in this style of case, aka the Game Boy style case, and that would be the Kites build, or the LCL PiBoy. Now, I happen to have a LCL PiBoy here, and this would actually be more closer to this because these come pre-assembled, already ready to rock and roll. And the reason why I say this one over, you know, something like a Renegade Labs build is the fact that it has an analog stick. So that's really where these 2 kind of compete. And then also on top of it, this utilizes a Raspberry Pi, a full-size one. It is slightly slimmed down, but it does utilize it. And this one has no modifications to it whatsoever. You just put a full-size Pi in there, ready to rock and roll. So this one, as you can see, The Ethernet has been slightly modified, and then the USB hubs have been removed. So, so there is slight differences. Both similar price range, but today we're going to be checking out this bad boy. So just to go over the case, I know one of the things that people have pointed out to me is the button layout. So as you can see with this case, you know, they're kind of like straight up and down. So if I put my finger on there, you know, it kind of looks like the normal SNES, and then these ones are like super offset. So a lot of people thought, hey, you know, that might cause an issue with button pressing and here and there. But to be in all honesty, once you start playing it, it's just like your mind automatically adjusts to fix that. So I personally have not noticed that. Maybe some other people might, but well, like I said, for me personally, it hasn't been an issue, at least not yet. And I've been gaming for, what, 2.5 days on this thing. So I've gotten a good amount of gaming into this. So obviously it looks just like your normal Game Boy looking case, but like I said, obviously this is vastly different. So we have our 6 buttons, just like a regular Game Boy Zero build, a D-pad, a analog stick, which is actually very nice because I kind of have sweaty fingers and palms and everything. So this one's rubberized, so not too much slippage. And then it also has a little lip on it too. So then you have your select and your start, and then your power LED and your 3.5-inch IPS screen, which, like I said, is super, super vibrant. We'll get to that in a quick second here. Going up on the top here, obviously you can see there's a full-size Raspberry Pi 4. So this is pretty much the best of the best. I mean, you can put an 8 gig in here if you want, but 4 gig will do you just fine. It's not the end of the world. If I don't have an 8 gig, I'm not the new kid on the block. Whatever. So moving along to the side here, we have our LCD contrast wheel. And unlike most of the Game Boy Zero builds that I see that have a contrast wheel, this one actually moves with the screen very, very well. You can turn it all the way down and actually turn off the screen. So it's not like most of the ones that I see where you turn it like 3 or 4 turns, then it goes half. Then you turn it 3 or 4 more turns, then it goes like a quarter, and so on and so forth. So so this one's definitely a lot nicer and actually works the way that it's intended. So moving downward, you can see that there is a micro USB port. I know that's going to be a hot topic for a lot of people. Why not utilize the the USB-C, you know, since that's like the new bad boy on the market. To be in all honesty, I understand your concern about that, and I've talked with ExperimentalPi before they even released this case to the public. And the reason why that is a micro USB is because originally when they were designing this, at the time, the Pi 4 was not on the market. So, so they didn't really have plans for that. And obviously, if you know anything about manufacturing and going back and changing things, that's a very expensive change to change a mold, then change a board. That's a lot of money that you're kind of throwing away. So maybe we'll see one in a next revision. That would probably be pretty good. But I mean, if worse comes to worse, if you're one of those people who has to have USB-C and that's what you use, I mean, I use that for my phone and a bunch of other things, but I still also use micro USB. But I mean, like I said, if you're that pressed about it, just get an adapter, call it a day. Just use it for the time being. It's not going to be the end of the world. Next to that, we have a 3.5 millimeter jack. Then we also have our volume wheel, which I'll be honest is a little wonky for me because when I'm playing, you know, I'm used to turning the wheel here or turning it on here. That would probably be a better place for it. Again, maybe in a next revision we can see that. But down here, that's kind of useless. You know, I'd rather trade the HDMI port and swap those two personally. That might just be my personal thing, but you know, that's what I want. I'd personally want. Moving alongside here, you have an SD card slot that is spring loaded, so you just press it in and it'll pop right back out. And you have your optional HDMI port. And obviously this is a, I believe, micro, because the Pi 4 has mini, or vice versa. I forget which one is what, but that's pretty much it for the case on the sides there. Then on the back here, you have 2 vents and 2 vents for your cooling, because your fan sits right in the center here. Then you have your L and R triggers, like I showed you. And then in the back here, you have a nice designed case with a easily removable battery. And you have your straight door. So no cutting, no nothing. This has all been re-engineered, redesigned to fit this perfectly. So it is a very, very nice build, I will say that. Then also on the back of the battery door, there is a little nub there to keep it from sliding around, so you don't hear that. I know a lot of builds have that issue, but we're going to go ahead and just show it off here a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and take it apart and show you the goodies on the inside. So when you start it up here, you have your LED indicator that's going to be flashing, and then this is going to display the ExperimentalPi boot up screen. Like I said, a very, very vibrant screen. The LCL PiBoy is probably one of the better ones that I've seen. And this definitely comes very close, if not, is pretty much matching it. One thing you will notice, and I don't know if this is just the image that they sent me or that's the image that they're going to put out, but this also has all the information that I need to make sure that my system is operating properly. So I have my load, which is obviously the CPU monitoring system. Then we also have our temperature monitor. Right now we're at 33.9 degrees Celsius, that's pretty cool for Pi 4. Obviously it's going to get much, much hotter because, you know, we all know that these things are super duper hot. 3.7 volts at 1.4 amps, and we're only using 750 megahertz as a CPU. So we're barely using anything on this thing. Then we also have Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and then our battery. Obviously, I need to charge this because I've been playing it for a little bit. But I will tell you that everything works very, very well and very, very quickly, very responsive. It's basically the same as any other type of regular Game Boy that you would find. But like I said, we'll get to that in a little bit. It is vastly different. Again, you guys might have saw the volume wheel on there. So when you turn this up or down, the volume wheel, it does display on the screen too. So, I mean, that is kind of good. But again, it's still a little wonky for me having it down there. One downfall of this case, I will say, is that the audio output is not that great when it's at its highest. It's very tingy, very, very like 1980s car stereo type thing. So maybe in the future I'll upgrade a bigger speaker or a better speaker at least. We'll have to see about that, but I'll just go through a real quick game here. I'll choose one of my favorites here. We'll do Super Punch Out. T. There we go. So again, you can see, well, you guys probably can't see it because it's very, very small text, but we're already jumped up to 40.9. So what was that, 6 degrees already? So, and I'll show you off the audio issue here right now. So as you can probably hear, it's a little tingy. I'm not going to have this up too much because, you know, just in case anything happens. Boom. I think I played this game a little too much. So again, I'm not going to bore you guys with my gaming and my terrible, terrible gaming when I'm trying to lean over and game and do all this stuff. But that's basically the gist of it. as you can see, that this is a stock RetroPi setup. So I just added in whatever games I had available, and went on my merry way. So it does work very, very well. So as of right now, I really, really dig this, and it's got a pretty big market to come into. But like I said, it is vastly different compared to a regular, Game Boy build that these, people like me and other modders do, in terms of the quality in this thing. And like I said, we'll get to that in a second. You know what? Actually, I'm not going to let you guys wait on that. So you guys kind of saw what it can do. Unfortunately, I did load some Nintendo 64 games on here, but for some reason they're corrupted or they're bad. I don't know. I've had them for a long time, so I loaded them on, and unfortunately they're not working. So I can't even show off that it actually runs Nintendo 64. But obviously, you guys know that a Pi 4 gig, it's going to run Nintendo 64 a lot better than a 3B, and like this is the LCL PiBoy that runs a 3B, and that'll run Nintendo 64 with a little bit of glitchiness. But if I were to upgrade that to a 3B Plus, it would run a lot smoother. And then obviously with Pi 4, it runs much, much smoother as well. So we're going to go ahead and turn this off. There's our safe shutdown, our red light, and there we go. All ready to rock and roll. So some other things I wanted to share with you. This did come with a little pouch that says ExperimentalPi on it. And then it also came with a little bag. Now the battery is inside this bag as well when it comes. So you have some screws, and then you have a replacement door for the HDMI if you don't get the HDMI out. Or if you do, there's the one for the HDMI out. Then also here's the top door to replace the Pi one for the Pi 3 or Pi 4. So that's like if you're going to use a Pi 0, you're going to use that door. And then obviously they add in a Pi 3 because if you guys do or do not know, the setup on a Pi 4 is different than a Pi 3. So what they did is they moved the Ethernet from the left side of the board to the right side of the board, or vice versa. No, that's right. So it's from the left side of the board to the right side of the board. So so that's the difference between it. So we're going to go ahead and open this up right now and take a gander on the insides here. Now, obviously, you guys have probably seen my buddy ETA Prime's video and his review of it, and he kind of tore it down. We're going to go in a little bit more detail than his, and actually break it all the way down, because, like I said, when I tell you that this is vastly different than a Raspberry Pi Game Boy build, it definitely is. So first off, the case itself is completely remolded from a Nintendo Game Boy style. So while it looks the same, it is quite different. And the sizes are exactly the same. It's just that they redid everything. So when you take this all apart, we're going to take the battery out. So we have 6 screws here on the back, and this just comes out super duper easy. All right, so that's it. There's nothing attached to the back. Most of these Game Boy builds that you see have wiring in here for tactile switches and whatnot. This does not. And this one, you can swap out your triggers just like that. So 8 screws and you have your triggers swapped out, no problem. So that's a very, very simple, straightforward setup. I'm gonna blow that out because I've had this open a couple times already. Let's get this all laid out for you guys. All right, put that off to the side. So, like I said, we have 6 screws here for the back, and then we have the insides. So there's the fancy inside. So we have our fan on top of a little hat that also has our MIPI adapter, I believe they're called, which this is a really high-end adapter for the LCD screen. the 3.5 inch. Then we also have another ribbon cable that basically runs all the information here, our tactile switches, and then our, I believe this is power for the actual fan, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So this is power for the actual fan, and that just plugs right into the board. And then right below here, you see that little orange tab. That actually is an SD card slot adapter. So that way you can utilize this and it just automatically goes into there. Then we also have our AT Mega, I believe it is. Let's see what this says. X Mega. So it's a form of Arduino basically, and that's for the analog stick. And you'll see those pretty much any one of these LCL boys or any type of build that has a I don't know what I just dropped out of there, but we'll see. Hopefully nothing super important. Anyway, so you'll see that with any other build that has an analog stick because it requires an Arduino. There is a little connector here for the battery, so make sure that you disconnect that before you get the case apart here. I do want to know what I dropped there, but we'll take a look later on. If I come across anything that's not supposed to not be, we'll have to take a look at it. But all right, so we're gonna go ahead and start disassembling this. The MIPI adapter just pulls straight up. It's very, very nice. It's got a nice little clip-in area, and basically this is going to be 4 bolts, and then we're going to pull off a little JST connector is what they call those. That's what those little white connectors are. All right. So when you go to remove the hat that's on here, you're going to remove it from the GPIO side, which is going to be on your left-hand side of the board. Okay. And you're just going to pull up gently so we're not breaking any boards or anything. And that's pretty much it. So now this connector wasn't really fully seated in there, so it just kind of popped out. But either way you can do it and disconnect it. You can disconnect it from the board or from the hat. So that's disconnected now. So like I said, it's just a little tiny fan on there. Nothing super spectacular, and then your volume wheel, and that's all that's really that hat is for. Oh, and the power switch, I guess. Yeah, that's another thing. So yeah, that pretty much controls most of the stuff that's on there. That's super important. And then you have your Raspberry Pi that's sitting on there. So for this is actually kind of nice because this lifts right off. However, if you have the HDMI adapter on here, you are going to remove these 2 screws, because if you do not, you will end up damaging the board. So make sure you remove those 2 screws. 1 and 2. Oh God, throwing things around. Today is just not my day, guys. And then now we can pull that up, remove the little protector for the outside of the Pi and the HDMI port, and then this just kind of slips right out of here. Or it's supposed to. There we go. And then when you're removing this, be careful because there's this little SD card that has a connector on it, and that's pretty much it. So, and then if you don't have the HDMI board, then obviously you could just pull your Pi right out, but this has the HDMI connector on it for the Pi 4. We're going to go ahead and put that back in, and we're going to leave that off to the side. So now that pretty much leaves our screen, our little drop-in connection housing, I guess, for the Pi and everything, and then our board. So in order to remove this, you're going to remove 6 screws. Going to remove 6 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've already removed 3 of these, and I'll remove number 4. Magnetized. All right. So now that we have that removed, we can go ahead and remove the LED little light bar as well as the LCD screen. So, and there's our 3.5 inch LCD screen with the MIPI connector. So this is definitely a higher quality screen than, you know, most of the stuff you're going to see on these builds. Excuse me. All right, so now all we have to do is remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 more screws to remove the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so when you remove that, obviously the board's going to pop out because you have it laying on the ground, and the analog stick is going to be pressing down on that. So now that's pretty much it. That's just your board. So it's more or less just a ground board in here, and everything's just packed in here. So on the back here, you have your Arduino for the joystick. You have your audio components. You also have your power boost and charging circuit. So that's all integrated onto the board very, very nicely and minimalistic. Then you have your speaker, which they actually use speaker wire on this, which you don't usually see that, but I guess they went that extra mile. And then your analog stick, which obviously this is just a standard analog stick that you can replace if you want to. I think it's perfectly fine, and that's pretty much it. All the other button pads are on here. But one of the things I wanted to show you guys to let you know that this is indeed a different build than a Game Boy build is the fact that these are all custom-made silicone pads. Now, I don't know about you, but me and the gaming modding community, it's pretty hard to come by these things unless you do mass production units. They definitely pulled out all the stops and went that far. But they didn't just stop there. Oh, no, no, no. They went even farther. And while these look like normal DMG buttons, as you can clearly see, there's a cross on them. So 4 points, all right? This is a reproduction DMG button. So this is directly copied off of a DMG. As you can see, there's 3, a tri-way on that button. So not only that, it's completely different, and I believe the sizing is even different. Let's take a look here. Oh yeah, you can clearly see there is a size difference between those two. So you can see that that difference is quite noticeable, and the color is obviously more vibrant on these ones than on the reproductions. And then the same one for the D-pad. They didn't just grab a DMG D-pad. No, no, no. They redid the entire thing. And the only reason I know that is because the DMG D-pad usually has a cut in it, like like a 1/4 of an inch cut or smaller, and that's how you know. So they went above and beyond to get this thing to where it is, and did an amazing job at doing everything from basically square one. So they basically took the idea of the Game Boy shell and then just threw it all out and said, all right, we're going to design this and this and this and this and that and call it a day. So that's pretty much what they did. So we're going to go ahead and reassemble all this stuff and get it back in. And it's fairly simple to reassemble this. Just make sure we don't get any dust or anything. The only hard parts are getting the speaker in there and the analog stick. But once you do, you're all good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to prop this up just to make it easier. Once I get 1 or 2 screws in, then we'll be good. We don't have to do that. We can lay it back down flat, but we want to make sure we get at least 1 or 2 of them in there to make a good stick. And if anybody's wondering what that sound is in the background, that's my 3D printer going and making parts for stuff. So that's my FDM, which I use to make all the parts on the back wall here. I use it for functional parts, more or less, out of anything. So we're just putting in our 6 screws here, and then we're going to be on our merry way. Okay, we're going to go ahead and drop our screen back down in there. And that screen does have some rubber padding on it as well to keep it from sliding around, and then to keep the Pi from touching it in any way, shape, or form. Then we're going to go ahead and put our little LED piece back in there, and then we're going to put our little brackets for the Pi in, and then we're going to tighten those down. 6 screws, 3 on each side. Very simple and straightforward. I know I should probably be using my fancy electric screwdriver, but I figured, hey, they included a screwdriver, let's use it. Forget about it. My jittery hands. Okay, so we're already starting to come back together here. Now next all we have to do is put in our, and I forgot one important tip. When you are putting in the left side, make sure that you have that ribbon cable under it. So, hey, I'm not a professional, people. I just think I am. So make sure you have that up and under. And then we're going to go ahead and put our screws back in. Did I strip this out? Yep, I totally did. All right. So now that we got that up and underneath there, we're going to go ahead and set our Pi inside here. Now, you want to put on your cover for it before you do anything. So that sits down in there nicely, and the same with the HDMI. Because once that's in there, it's in there. So now we're going to take our 2 screws that we had and put our HDMI port in there. tight down in there. Okay, so now that's all set in there. Now all we have to do is put our hat back on, make sure that our connectors are all ready to rock and roll. So, actually, you know what? We're going to put in our SD card adapter first before we do anything. Note to self, don't do what Matt does. Alright, so now that we got that in there, we're going to slide that back in. And, you know, if you need to, I suggest using a nice pair of tweezers to help you on your journey here, because this can definitely be a royal pain to deal with when it comes to very, very small connectors. Alright, now that that's all down, grab our little thing. All right, so now we're going to put our connector back into the hat for the ribbon cable. All right, and then we're going to line up the GPIO. Slide that back down in there. There is a little track right here. We're going to put this fan back in. And just kind of tuck that wire inside there. We're going to put our MIPI adapter. Again, it just kind of tucks in there very nice. And then our 4 screws. And then we're going to put on our power adapter, power switch, I should say, not adapter. Line that all up. Put on our 6 screws. And be on our merry way. I'm going to do this zigzag style. This right. power in. And hopefully we didn't kill anything. Yay! Excuse me. All right, so that's pretty much the gist of it. Like I said, I'm not really going to bore you guys with games and stuff like that. You guys have seen a couple reviews already with people playing games. I'll be honest. I'm more of a modification person than I am a gamer. So I just showed you that one game. I'll leave you with another favorite game of mine called Blazing Lasers. And, you know, I'm terrible at it because I haven't played it in years. But it's still a fun game. And, you know, if you guys happen to like the video and you want some more information about it, you can go ahead and check them out at ExperimentalPi.com. They are doing pre-orders for August, September currently. There are 3 different models, and I will read those off to you right now. So there is 3 different kits. There's a base kit, full kit, and then an assembled kit. So the base kit is basically everything that you see here minus a battery and what else was it? Let's take a look here. So it doesn't come with a fan, it doesn't come with a battery, and it doesn't come with a charger. The full kit does come with a battery, does come with a charger. So basically everything that you would more or less need, you just need to add the Pi and a micro SD card with the images. So, and then obviously the HDMI adapter is always extra. That is $10 or $11, I think it is, for the Pi Zero one. So I'll probably end up getting the other adapters later on. And then there's also the assembled kit, which obviously that's everything that's included. Let's take a gander here. So the price range for these are going to be, for the base kit is going to be $89.95 without shipping, then $119.95 for the full kit without shipping, and then for the full assembled version, it's going to be $179.95. And this pretty much comes with a Raspberry Pi 4 2 gig. So that comes with everything, and it does come with an image installed already. So and it also says that it's fully tested as well. So that's also a great thing that they go ahead and test that. While I'm here, though, I wanted to let you guys know that they are supplying different color shells as well. So currently they are August releases that might have been pushed back, but last I heard it was still on track. They do have a pure black shell, they have a transparent black, they have a transparent purple, crystal clear, which I know a lot of people love that, and then the yellow that a lot of people love too. So, and these cases are only $12 extra. So for a total of $192, if you get a case, the adapter, all the extra add-on stuff, well, it's like $190. That's like $200 with the if you get the other adapters. But if you get the assembled version and then you get a shell just to swap out, it's $192. So that's not a bad price. That puts it in a very, very good spot for the retro handheld systems for gaming, because really you can't touch it. Think about it this way. A Raspberry Pi 4 2 gig is like what, $60, somewhere around there, and that's without taxes and everything. So I mean, right then and there, that's the bulk of it. Then you pay for a case. I mean, you're already way ahead of the game in terms of doing this, because there's no work to really be done. You just throw a Pi in there and then just add on some connectors, and that's it. Like, it's much better to do it that way than to have like something that you need to build. So full build wise, it's worth every penny. But if you're someone who's still a DIYer and you like to learn things and build it yourself and get that type of pride, then by all means go with a Renegade Labs or a Kites build, or you know, like Tinkerboy with the ground boards, or Helder, or whoever else is out there that I'm not naming that has ground boards. You know, pretty much anybody who's anybody has ground boards out there. So I mean, you can go ahead and do a DIY kit all you want. That's perfectly fine. But for those who are kind of on the, you know, I don't want to deal with that side, or they have no idea what they're doing side, this is by far the best bang for your buck. So, like I said, go ahead and check them out at ExperimentalPi.com, and you know, go ahead and order, and they'll be shipping these out soon enough. The first wave is already starting to rock and roll here. So, so yeah. If you guys like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and share it out to your friends. And, you know, if you can, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'd like to try and hit 1,000 subscribers this year. That would be totally awesome. But if not, it's not the end of the world. It would just be my goal for the year. Yeah, until next time, guys, happy gaming.